You're now diving into the fish tank.
Sitting down with Seth Living, OJ, Juice Man.
Welcome back to the Fish Tank right here on the Miami Dolphins Podcast Network. Seth Levitt, DJ Preach, and the man who just celebrated, I don't want to count the years, but a big birthday, OJ McDuffie. Juice, man, how you feeling? I was a little concerned about today with the birthday being last night. I didn't know if you were going to make the call.
Yeah, you got to answer the call, Big Seth. You know what I mean? I got to answer the call. One of my coaches back in the day, Joe Paterno, said you can't be sick. You got to show up on game day, man, and that's the truth, man. Especially when one of my favorite teammates is in the tank. We got to make sure we show up for that, bro. We can't miss those opportunities.
Well, can't miss is exactly the theme for this interview here. So let's welcome him in. Olindo Mare dives into the tank for the first time. Lindo, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing great. I'm just hoping that the number that Juice was celebrating yesterday is a lot higher than mine.
And it always will be.
Always will be, no matter what.
So I'm feeling pretty good there. I'm doing well.
Doing great, man. Really doing great. I appreciate you making this
Happy birthday, Juice.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Let's talk about you getting into Miami, though, Lindo. I mean, that's interesting in itself, man, because you thought you were going to Atlanta with Dan Reeves after he got fired. Then you obviously Morton Anderson's there, but then you get this opportunity with the Dolphins where you're competing with Joe Nedney here, and he had just taken Pete Stoyanovich's place that you just talked about.
He wanted that Corvette too.
Yeah. So how'd that come about? You talk about Mike, man. We talk about Mike all the time on this show, man. Tell us more about that.
So we had a couple offers to sign, and when I tell you sign, it wasn't it's not like Anthony Davis today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was we're going to give you $100 and a ticket, and then that's about it. So it was the Jets, Arizona, a few teams. And the Jets was interesting to me because at the time, my girlfriend, my wife now, was up there. Her family's up there. I got a lot of family in New York and New Jersey, over in Brooklyn, everything. So I knew the stadium. But there's something about going home in the warm weather. So I got a call, and there was this thing at the time, I don't know if it still happens, where you can work out for somebody before you sign. I didn't know. So anyway, long story short, season's over. I go home to my parents' house. They still live in the same place. And which, by the way, I lived there my first year with the Dolphins, in the same bedroom.
Oh, we didn't let you get away with that either. We gave you a hard time about that.
Yeah, you gave me a lot of hard time about a lot of things, including my little Honda that I bought at the time. But I show up at St. Thomas Aquinas with Mike Westhoff working me out in my new agents, Drew and Jason Rosenhaus. So I haven't met them yet, but I just signed with them. And boy, I'll tell you what, they show up in a suit, Drew and Jason. They were catching footballs. I thought, this is the greatest agent in the world. This is Jerry Maguire.
Right.
Right here. He's working hard. And it was I had a good workout enough, obviously, for them to sign me. But, I figured for financial, it helped me to stay at home. I could, go the whole off season there. Live at home, save money, work hard, not worry about anything. And I honestly believe, I think Joe made one of the best decisions and the worst decisions, because he made a great decision. He went back to college to get his degree. The problem was he was away from the facility for 6 months, right? Which Westhoff didn't like. And I got better over 6 months. And so when it came time to, in preseason that year between Joe and I mean, it was a struggle because we each got one field goal in preseason. Wow. And that was it. And he missed his, and I made mine in Mexico, of all places. And we each got one kick, and it was crazy. I show up to the meeting the next day. Joe's not there. And Jimmy Johnson points his finger at me, and he's like, don't F this up. And I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, because he didn't even know my name at the time. Remember,
he knew your name.
He used to call me O. I'm going to call you O. I said, well, that's fine then, sir.
Whatever, yeah.
Call me whatever you want, as long as, Huizenga signs the check,
Right.
So I mean, it happened in a very strange way. And then, you know, from there, you know, I still feel like this, and I'm sure there's groups that feel like this today. But, you know, that group, that first 4 or 5 years that we had all those guys together, you know, and I just feel that way between, you know, at the time when I had, you know, Damon, I had my friend Rob, but we're talking Zach, Larry, Juice, JT. I mean, that whole group, there was about 10 of us, you know, and afterwards, you know, I mean, to me, it was, you know, obviously the best time of my life playing sports because, you know, you knew from all the old guys, Danny and all those guys that, listen, this is what you're going to miss the most. Yeah. And to this day, I still miss it, you know?
Lindo, I got a funny follow-up question about Joe Nedney, because I know, you know, you were competing against him, but Joe Nedney had like a size like, and I know it's just kind of weird. He had like a size 13 or 14 foot.
Yeah.
Is that unusual for kickers? I mean, I know Pete had a little foot. I remember just seeing Pete put on these little look like kids cleats when he was kicking. Is it like does it make a difference with these kickers? Which honestly, with shoe size, I mean, does the size matter when it comes to kicking?
What was strange about Joe is Joe would wear just regular like speed TD football
shoes. like the wide receivers, right?
Yeah, and maybe because real soccer shoes didn't come in a size 14. I don't know. They don't sell them in Europe. They're smaller people over there, you know. But you know, I think when your foot's that big, you have to come from the side more, which is what Joe did. You know, he had a little bit of a hook to his kick.
Yes.
A little bit.
And, but, you know, I think the smaller you can kind of get under it and more solid, you know, it's better. But, you know, Joe really, you know, I know he had a couple in and out of years before he got to San Francisco. He had a knee injury and all. But when he got to San Francisco, he was one of the best guys in the league for 5 or 6 years. You know, you kind of get on that streak, and I mean, he was just good, and he was from San Francisco, right? He went to San Jose, so like,
yeah, he was
kind of in the same
West.
position I was. You know, it worked out for both of us. You know, obviously, you know, I think it was great for me, and I got accepted a lot more because I wasn't the guy to kick Pete out. You know,
right.
Joe was.
Yeah, that was a tough spot to be in.
That's right.
So they hated Joe, and then when I went there, they were like, we like the local kid, and he's taking the guy that took Joe's job away.
Pete's job. Yeah.
So anyway, so that worked out for both of us.
Yeah. Speaking of Pete, you know, you're talking about how what you were doing in New York, you know, during practice, not kicking, doing everything else. You know what Pete was doing? He was in the lunchroom signing his autograph, all his fan mail. You know what I mean? And then when it's time to come out and practice, he just walk out the doors and, you know, right onto the practice field. Man, we were so damn mad at him, bro. But he was good, so you can't say shit when somebody's that good, you know?
I haven't heard a story that I wouldn't believe Pete was involved in. You know? The first time I met him was out at a dinner one night at this old place. Remember it used to be like Marino's Town Tavern in Fort Lauderdale?
Yep.
And there was a couple nightclubs there and stuff. And Pete was just retired, I think, out of Kansas City, and came back, you know, and all decked out. You know, he probably had his Versace suit on or whatever. And
he only had 2 buttons. He only buttoned like 2 buttons, like, you know what I mean? The rest was like wide open, you know what I mean?
Kept, you know, I'm still the man. And I was like a rookie or something. And you know, I still looked up to him, and it was just fun to like, man, I'm with, you know. So he was like, don't worry about anything. I'll take care of this. I'll get us in all the bars and the club, whatever it was. Meanwhile, I thought I was like the man. Like, this is my team now, right?
That's right.
What he didn't know was,
I love the kicker battle. This is my team.
Believe it or not, the kid who was like, you know, at the door at one of those nightclubs went to high school with me. So
you were the man.
To put Pete in his place, I went to him and told him, listen, Pete's going to come up and give you this thing, how to let all 15 of us in this special room and the whole deal. Tell him we don't know who you are. Get in line. So, of course, that's what he did. Pete came back all mad. And I said, Pete, let me just go tell him, like, see if I can do anything. And, of course, I go in and walk right in there. And
it's such a great setup.
He was so hot. You know, he was so mad. You know, I had to wait a couple hours before I told him the truth.
So listen, Lindo, you mentioned him a couple times, and you've built up this epic Mike Westhoff story. Obviously, we can't talk about special teams in Miami in the mid '90s without talking about Mike. What is the story? I got to know about the crazy Mike Westhoff story.
So I'm sure you've heard a couple. Izzo might have told you one of his stories, but
there's so many.
Westhoff says to me, "We're going down to this." I had missed a kick, so I'm like, I missed a kick on the dirt. It was like the second or third game. And I missed a kick on the dirt in like the first quarter. And then in the last kick, it was kind of in the same spot. I won the game in overtime. We played Houston, on the dirt. So it was in the same spot. And I remember being like 12 of 13 or 13 of 14. That was like my only miss. And on Tuesday, there's like freaking 10 guys working out. And Jimmy was like, "Hey, you got to make them." And I'm thinking, like, I did make them. But so anyway, so the week Westhoff says, "We're going down to the stadium. We're going to be kicking in the dirt every Friday now." I'm like, God damn, whatever. So meanwhile, to me, it was okay. I didn't care when I went because, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you get as much practice on there as you can. So, we go down there. Now, little did I know we were going down in that green convertible Cadillac with Mike Westhoff in it. And I had no clue what we were getting at. Now, meanwhile, we got our pads on. We're in this. So
you're in the convertible, fully dressed in uniform.
Well, we had our practice gear on. So our pads are in the back seat. And I think it might have been Klaus Wilsmeyer at the time. And there was another guy, Tommy Hutton, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going back. And of course, John Kidd earlier. So we go. And so our pads, I'm sitting in the back seat. John Kidd's in the front. All of our pads are in the back. We got a bag of balls in the trunk. And all of a sudden, one of them storms starts to come, showers. So Mike now we're on the highway. A couple of Dolphin guys and coaches on the side of the highway, pulls over to put the top up. And we have to, this top wasn't like a secure top. And the windows didn't work. So Mike's like, pull the windows up. Like, with what? It was a nightmare. We're on the side of the turnpike going to the stadium.
This is the NFL.
So I remember at the time, Mike was like, kind of like not making a big deal. Don't worry about it. Like these old classics. And, I remember getting
all original parts.
I remember getting back and Jimmy goes, "How'd it go?" And I so wanted to go, "How'd it go? In the rain? In the car? Like
which part?
Yeah. The kicking went great. At the end of the day, he was a true special teams coach and, he stuck up for me, many of times. And one of the times that I remember the most was we're playing at home and we had a kickoff. We ran down there and got the guy kind of like, maybe 30 or 40 yard line or whatever. Got a fumble, go down there to kick a field goal, and I missed the field goal. And of course, Zach comes over, hot, screaming at me, and
I remember
that. Meanwhile, if everybody knows, if anybody wants to make it, it's this guy. I'm not trying to make it for you guys. I'm trying to make it for me, And so he's screaming at me on the sideline, and I'm only a rookie or whatever. But the next play we scored, and I kicked off and made a tackle. Earlier on, I used to run down there and make tackle. It was fun, Well, after I made the tackle, Westhoff had said to Zach, "Do you want him to kick off and make tackles? Go do your job."
I love it.